Hello everyone. Today I'm making the other movie in order to deliver you the questions for each group of YouTuber in order to find out the answers of the questions. So now we look at we will go to our chapters, and this is chapter 6. The title chapter 6 is Urban Land Rent. Okay, so urban land rent is the title of chapter 6. So go to see question number 1 together. In number 1, or in the question number 1, you have question mark 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yes, you tend to have more question marks for question number 1. Okay, let's see. Question number 1. How many urban economic sectors are using the land in urban area or in a city? What are they? So how many and what are they for the first questions. Next, to understand the urban land use, two terms are required to use. One is land rent, the other one is market value of land. Question: what are they meant? Raise an example. By using these two terms, you can give example. How is the land use given to each sector? Okay, each sector, that means sector here. So how many sector here to each sector there? Okay, so this is question number 1. So going to question number 2. This is question number 2. You have 1, 2, 3 question marks. Okay, question number 2. Could you explain with examples how can the rent on land be defined in agricultural sector? Okay, how can the rent on land be defined in agricultural sector? What is the leftover principle? Okay, what is the leftover principle? Next question. Could you fill the data in the table below? Okay, below, that means in the next slide. And explain how much farmers offer to pay for using the agricultural land. That means offer to pay, that means to bid for agricultural land for using. This is question number 2. Okay, in question number 2 you have one table to fill. Okay, this is a table. This table I get it from textbook, but I change the data, and the textbook provide you full data column here, but now I change the data and I ask you to fill in total value, total revenue, WTP for land, bid rent for land. That's why you need to fill this column, that one, and this one. 3 columns you need to fill that with the data. Question number 3. Question number 3 you have 3 question mark as well. 1, 2, and 3. Question number 3. Okay, look at this one. How can the rent on land be defined in manufacturing sector? How can the rent on land be defined in the manufacturing sector? How can the land be defined? How can the land be bidded for manufacturing sector? Why is bid rent curve negative sloped? Why is bid rent curve negative slope? Bid rent curve for manufacturing sector negative slope. This is question number 3. Question number 4. Question number 4. Filling the table below, the next slide. filling the table below by using information given us. Suppose each firm produces 7 units of output and its output price $40. Okay. So each firm produces 7 units of output, the price $40. The non-land production cost is $150. A firm at the highway has no freight cost because the firm closer to the highway, that's why no need to transport from firm to the highway, so no freight cost. If a firm is 1 mile away from highway, the firm will pay for freight cost $25. A firm occupies 2 hectares of land. Firm using 2 hectares of land. So question, based on this information, you need to fill this information to table, and based on the table that you already fill information, question will go into you. How much is the land bid? Okay, how much is the land bid? So you need to use this information, this data, to fill the table here. So the table here I also get it from a textbook, but I delete all information. Instead I make the other information, but this one I give you only 1 column, and the other column you need to get information from this, okay, from this to fill this column, any column that need to fill, and then the other column that you have no data to fill in, you need to calculate. Okay, when you go to the textbook will also explain you how to fill this column or how to calculate the column, but the textbook provide you all data in this table, but for me I don't. I just give you this one. The first column, distance, 0 mile, 2 mile, 5 miles, and 8 miles. 0 mile, that means the firm just maybe only walking 2 or 3 steps. A firm in front of the firm is highway, that's why 0 mile. This is the firm is located 2 miles away from highway, 5 miles away from highway, 8 miles away from highway. Okay, so fill this information, and then you can see this one. This is the question. So when you fill information and you got this data, this is the answer of the question. Okay, go to number 5. Number 5, you have 1 question mark, 2 question mark, 3 question mark. Number 5. How can the rent on land be defined in information or office sector? By using figure 6.2 and table 6.3. So figure normally give you some graph or some data. Table give you the data. How can the land be bidded for information or office sector? By using table 6.4. Okay, based on table 6.4, explain how land be bidded for using as office. Okay, why is bid rent curve negative sloped? By using figure 6.3. So we have these question marks for question number 5. Question number 6. How can the land be bidded for information or office sectors with factor substitution? With factor substitution. 1. Building options. Okay, building option is about the office ISO quant. ISO It's not English language, it's from Greek language. Quant is quantities, iso quant. Office, iso quant. So based on this building option, you can use table 6.5 and figure 6.4 to explain. The other part of question 6, factor substitution. Okay, based on point of factor substitution, we can use you can see table 6.6, choosing a building height. I mean, to height, a tall building or a short building. The other one, factor substitution generates a convex bit rent curve. What does what is it look like? Convex bit rent curve. Okay, you can see in figure 6.5, and you can use table 6.7 in order to explain factor substitution generates a convex bit rent curve. Next question, question number 7. Question number 7, yes, this one. How can the housing price be defined for residential sector? Okay, this is for household. Previous one for farmer, producer, for farmer as a producer, but use agricultural product. The other one, manufacturing sector, produce products or some services. That's most of manufacturing produce products. Information office produce service. Okay, service. But in this case, for household, how can the housing price be defined for residential sector? Using the model of housing market. 1. Linear housing price curve, no consumer substitution. So based on linear housing price curve, you need to use figure 6.6 in order to explain. The other one, consumer substitution generates a convex housing price curve. So in order to explain this one, you need to use figure 6.7. Okay. So this is question number 7. Okay, go to number 8. Question number 8. How can the residential bit rent curve defined? How can the residential bit rent curve defined? So in this case, you can use here fixed factor proportions. Fixed, that means no change, same, constant. Fixed factor proportion. Okay, you can use figure 6.8. The other one, factor substitutions. Factor substitution, you can use table 6.8. This one figure 6.8, this one table 6.8. Don't confuse. Another one, residential density. Okay. Next, question number 9. Question number 9. Could you explain with real examples how are the time costs, public services, taxes, and amenities affected to the housing price and residential bit rent curve? Maybe if you live in Phnom Penh City, okay, you can see our Phnom Penh City as an example, or you can raise from the other. It depends on how you can define example. From the real example, real example is mean from the real country, real city, not from textbook or not from the theory. 10 is the last question. How is the city equilibrium? How is the city equilibrium use land use pattern? How is the city's equilibrium land use pattern? You have 2 points. Bit rent curves for business. So bit rent curve for business, normally for office, for manufacturing. Office sector, you can use figure 6.9a. Manufacturing sector, you can use figure 6.9b and figure 6.9c. Figure 6.9c, if you go to the textbook, is a combination of figure 6.9a and 6.9b. And the other one, territories. Territories are different sectors. You can use figure 6.10. Okay, so for chapter 6 you have 10 questions, but it doesn't mean that you have 10 question marks. You have more than 10 question marks for these 10 questions. So I hope that you can check it. If you don't understand any question, you can ask me for some idea, for some guideline. Okay, question 1, question 2, question 3, question 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Okay, 10. So this is the end of my slide. We will go to see the textbook. Okay, the textbook, chapter 6, urban land rent. So first they introduce you some idea regarding to urban land rent. Okay, sometimes you need to read this one in order to get some idea, some basic idea or some guideline. The first point of this one, introduction to land rent. Okay, as I present you on my slide, land rent market value. Okay, you can read by your own. I'm just briefly show you based on this one. I'm not reading it for you. You can read by your own and find out some idea to answer those questions that you are responsible for. Okay, so in my slide, PowerPoint slide, I change, but in the textbook they give you all data because they calculated for you already. That's why in order to fill my table on a slide, you need to understand this, because of the way that to find the data to fill the table on my slide is the same way as the author explained here. Okay. Yes, I think you still remember 5 options that we use from chapter 1. This is competition drives economic profit to zero. I don't know what does it mean. You know, that's why I'm waiting for your explanation. Second one, bid rent curves for manufacturing sector. Okay, you also have one table. This table full of data, but the table in my slide I give you only distance, but distance in my slide different from this distance. Why? Because I want you to read this to understand from this one, and if you understand from that one, you can fill my table. This is the way that I want you to understand. And if you can fill my table on PowerPoint slide correctly, it means that you got this point. Negatively sloped rent curve, normally negative. Why is negative? Maybe you remember from a demand curve. Okay, this is the way that they calculate it. Okay, you can see this one. Remember that this chapter has some calculations. I'm not sure that all of you can catch the meaning of the calculation. If you are not clear, okay, come to me, approach me. I can give you some idea or some guideline. This is table. Oh, sorry, not table. This is a figure. Okay, it's similar to demand curve that you already took cost, economic courses so far. Rent on industrial share, Los Angeles. Oh, maybe no No need to see on your live, but you can raise it as example. But on my presentation I have no capture this one. The other one, bid rent codes for the information sector or office sector. Oh, this is maybe a little bit tricky. Yes, I'm waiting for the presenter to explain this table. But however, this table is explanation they show here. They also show here. So read this one and this table as well. Okay, it's interesting table. But I'm not sure that all of you or most of you can understand how to explain this table. But when you read this one, you can get some point or some idea to explain this table or the graph above here. The graph here. Traveling for information exchange. It is about this table and previous graph, above graph. Office bid rent code with a fixed lot size. That means constant size of the land. Okay, this is some calculation. When you answer, you need to also capture the calculation. Okay, I'm waiting to see the way that you show the presence. Table 6.4 office will be rent code without factor substitution. Now next one will with factor substitution. Okay, so yes, this is table. This is the way that to answer like this one. 856. This is 856. Here's our table. This is table without factor substitution. Tend to be straight one, linear curve, but not really 100% linear, not 100% line. Office bid rent curves with factor substitution. Now we have factor substitution. Office isoquant. Okay, so lot size, building height, and capital cost. This is tall building, medium height building, and short building. So different capital, land use, and building height built. With factor substitution, you see this is isoquant for 1 hectare of land. Okay, this is 1 hectare of land. This is land size. This is capital use. Capital refer to what? Machinery, cement. We're talking about building. We're talking cement, steel, the other framework or building. Okay. Factor substitution, choosing a building height. Yes, you can see. Here I'm waiting for presenter explain this table 6.6. We have low rent, 40 low rent. Okay. Low rent. Medium rent, high rent, Factor substitution generates convex. You can see this is convex curve. Okay, this is convex curve. Convex curve is like this one, curve like that one. It's not really straight like this one. This is convex curve. This is with factor substitution like convex. This is without factor substitution. Maybe yes, I will waiting for presenter to present this one to explain how to get this data, something like this. 1600 here, 1600. Sorry. Rent on office space. This is Los Angeles and Atlanta. Okay, this is just example from United States. You can read it to get some idea. But in my presentation slide, I have no capturing this one. Housing price. So when talking about housing, talking about household, not about manufacturing, not about employees, not about manufacturers. Linear housing price curve, no consumer substitution. So when no consumer substitution, linear between line, a straight. Like this one is a straight line, that's one. Okay, who responsible for this question will explain or will present this table, this figure. Okay, we have some calculations, not really easy one, but also it's not harder one. You can read that one, this guideline based on this model, you can find it. Consumer substitution generates a convex housing price curve. Curve price. This one we call convex. Convex. This is without is straight line, but with convex is not a straight line. It's about a curve. There's some calculation. This is talking about maybe slope. Yes, this is talking about slope. Apartment rent in Poland and Oregon. This is not including in my presentation slide, but you can read it in order to get some ideas, some experience from Poland and Oregon. Residential bid rent curve, fixed factor proportions. Okay, you get some this one. Yes, interesting graph. Factor substitution. This table. Residential density, consumer substitution, factor substitution. Okay. Density increase as we approach employment area for two reasons. 1, 2. Relax the assumption time cost public service, taxes and amenities. Like that means not before we do assumption, we assume that something fixed, something no change. But now in reality, something never stay the same for a long time. That's why this is reality. Land use patterns. You have a graph, not a 2D, it should be 3D graph. Bid rent curve for business. Bid rent curves for business. Okay, this is 3D. You can see, like this is let's say this is Y, this is X, but we also have Z here. That's why bid. This is 3D graph. So this is center one. It's higher, that means this is high price or higher. Yes, normally high price or higher demand. However, this is manufacturing. I forgot. This is center, normally center for office. That's why office will cluster each other in the center. Center city or center urban area. However, for manufacturer for factories, normally not really look at in the center, but they tend to look at themselves around the way that they can use in order to transport their product. That's why in this case we call highway. This is a highway. This is a highway across the city center. This is like outskirts in the city center. Even talking about our country, our city Phnom Penh, you can listen to, you can go to get from the other ministry, especially a town hall. Phnom Penh Authority right now they extend the Bell Road, three level Bell Road, in order to locate it, in order to move factories from a center to the outskirts, from the Bell Road, Phnom Penh City. You can see right now Bell Road, we have the first Bell Road, Phnom Penh City, the second Bell Road, Phnom Penh City, and the third Bell Road, Phnom Penh City. The third Bell Road is a little far from Phnom Penh, maybe closer to Kumbol, or just around Kumbol area, or maybe yes, near, yes, around Kumbol area is now the border between Kampong Speu and Kandal, and Kandal, yes, maybe Kandal, Kampong Speu, Kandal, or Phnom Penh City. So Phnom Penh City become bigger and bigger. That's why, because Bell Road become extended, take some land from Kandal province. Okay, this is the picture that shows manufacturing. Manufacturing normally they demand the land closer to highway, to railway, to, yes, normally to highway, to railway, because highway is long distance, railway is a long distance, but airport is only one place. And if you combine panel A, office and manufacturing together, you get this table. However, the last figure is similar to figure above, but a figure above 3D. This is 2D. It's only horizontal and vertical. So this is like a center. Okay, this is like a center of, no, this is not like center. It's like, when you look at this one, it's like strange. But okay, look at this one. Just take apart half of this one. If you cut two parts equally, look at only one part or the other part, you can imagine that this is this area. This is office, is the highest one. This is a Bell Road. Okay, this one is higher, it's a Bell Road. So outside this one, it is agriculture. Okay, so this is the last graph and last point for chapter 6 for you. And this is like theory, or like just like a story that they make it in order to make you understand. But I did not capture this one because this is like a real experience, or maybe an example that author tend to take from the others to give you some more idea to understand. Okay, so now, yes, and to come to the end of my movie, and I will drop this movie in YouTube, and you need to look at all together in order to see what happened, in order to find out your answers to the question that you are responsible for. And again, if you are not the one who subscribed yet, okay, please subscribe, click like and comment. I'm present, and you don't need to present that you don't need to comment that I'm from the evening, because ECN404 is have only one class. That's why you just comment I'm watched or I'm watching. No need to comment I'm from evening or morning, because I have only one class. Okay, don't forget to click subscribe my channel, click like the movie and comment. Okay, so turn to you for working.